I knew that this is what I want to do when I was 14. It's a physically grueling job, especially in TV, because the shifts are like 9 to 9, 12 hours, 16 hours, 14 hours. So it was very difficult. Nobody takes you seriously, and everybody thinks that you are just waiting to get married, and it's just bhoot hai, utar jayega. So it was very difficult. Yeah, people don't take you seriously. The cameraman used to not listen to me. The production guys don't listen. So it was quite a uphill battle. I don't think things have really changed. I think we have learned better to maneuver. It is quite sad that there haven't been much women directors in the industry. I mean, what were there 20 years ago? Still, those two women who are still there. We made the first long format daily draw for OTT called Aashiqana, which is kind of the first bridge between OTT and TV. TV is so brutal. It is such a leveler. You can have the number one show last year, but this year, if your show is not rating, you're out. You can have the number one show for the last 8 years, but if you don't have rating this week, you're out.
You're back with another episode of Table Talk. We're looking at the changing face of Indian entertainment. Indian dramas finally on par. But before I move ahead, here's a quick reminder. A lot of our episodes are available on YouTube. So do click on Jyotsna Mohan on YouTube and see some of those exclusive episodes that we also put in there every Thursday. But stay with me, and I am quickly going to add my guest today, who's a writer, producer, and director, Gul Khan. So, I'm quite enamored with where we are post-COVID, and the whole dynamics that have somewhat changed during COVID. So I'm going to deep dive into that and then come to the personal you. First tell me where post-COVID do you find yourself, in this journey as a writer, director, as a producer? I mean, the content has changed in the last 2.5 years, drastically changed. There's also that whole financial crunch that a lot of the industry is facing.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah.
For us, because when the shows were on, and then when the lockdown happened, and suddenly everything was shut, and when we did come back, a lot of shows actually didn't come back on air. So that was one that hit the industry really badly. So I think COVID, it was a financial hit for almost everybody in the country, but I think for all of us unanimously, I think it was a big emotional hit also, because it was one of the first epidemic like we all saw in our lifetime, and the lockdown was so sudden. The financial repercussions were heavy. Almost everybody we know lost somebody in COVID, right? And the whole uncertainty of it, that whether we would come back or not come back. So there are so many pros and cons, because I remember feeling that okay, fine, we all survived. So everything kind of seemed a bit smaller, like to crib about budgets or crib about jobs, gone in a certain way that okay, these are the people who made out alive. And I think that was a big emotional and psychological takeaway, at least for me, and I think it was like that for a lot of us. And then came the financial hit. Obviously, budgets were down, work was down, and a lot of people did not understand that. So one had to go ahead, take whatever is given, and then try to get stable.
Also mental health, right? I mean, that was a big thing.
Yes,
That was, I mean,
yes,
even within the industry, we've, heard of a lot of cases where, people have taken the extreme steps. So that kind of also impacts not just, the writer, the producer, but it impacts down to
the
that lowest level
person.
of the chain, right?
Yes, it does, and it was pretty scary also, because everything was so drastic, and suddenly a lot of people had to leave the city, and suddenly you have to decide whether how many people you can pay, how many people you can fire. I think it was also much more tougher at a leadership position, because those tough calls that to be taken, it was not easy. Yeah, I think we have still not reached where we were pre-COVID, and we're still pretty much catching up. And considering the state of affairs right now, we are expecting another kind of a economic COVID. Not, so things are not like as they were pre-COVID in any possible way. So yeah, I guess it will take some time to recover.
Okay, so let's talk about your journey. How did you get into this?
So I also kind of reflected and I was like, oh my God, yes, it's true. I knew that this is what I want to do when I was 14. And yeah, so I kind of knew I'm going to do that. And after that, obviously, it was not easy because I come from a pretty conservative family. So it was definitely not easy. And the whole idea is to get married soon and not focus on your career and, look after the family. So yeah, it was very difficult to fight that. And what these days when I follow on Instagram, I see a lot of, I follow a lot of pages where the girls are talking, the boys are talking, Youth Ki Awaaz, Yuva Forum and all that. It's like really surprising that things have not changed. Girls are still fighting the same battle. Sorry?
I have hope with the younger generation though.
Yeah,
You
I kind of keep having hope every decade. And it's been a couple of decades now. I used to hope like just the next generation after me, my cousins or my class, 10 years and 20 years and 30 years. I guess people are taking more time to change.
was it tough, as you said, in that leadership position, being a woman in this field?
Oh yeah, leadership position was much later. It was very difficult to start with also because when I was an assistant director, it was very difficult because it's a physically grueling job, especially in TV because the shifts are like 9 to 9, 12 hours, 16 hours, 14 hours. So it was very difficult. Nobody takes you seriously, and everybody thinks that you are just waiting to get married, and it's just bhoot hai, utar jayega. In the technical side, it is more difficult. Like it is much easier if you're a writer or if you are in the office. But when you're on the field, it is way, way more difficult. So it was very difficult. Yeah, people don't take you seriously. The cameraman used to not listen to me. Then the production guys won't listen. So it was quite a uphill battle. Yes.
So what do you do in situations like that?
You have to I have cried. Initially, when I was assistant, I have thought that maybe everybody else is right, maybe it's not meant for me, maybe the world is not meant for women. So yeah, you have a lot of anxiety and you have a lot of difficulty. You have a lot of psychological issues, and you just have to keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing. Even now that I'm in a leadership position, I don't think things have really changed. I think we have learned better to maneuver. So now I don't get upset. Even at that leadership level, sometimes I know that, if I tell this person in this tone, he will have a problem hearing that from a female leader in front of everyone. So I've learned how to maneuver it. The things are, you just don't want that mess anymore, that I'll do it and they'll fight, then I'll fire them. Or, you just want peace. So you have, I think, most women in that position have learned how to maneuver. It is quite sad that there haven't been much women directors in the industry. I mean, what were there 20 years ago? Still, those two women who are still there.
What about public perception? I mean, you've had some fairly successful shows, and there's always a lot of public, the public wants a say in whatever way it goes. If they don't like the ending, they like the ending. They don't want it to finish. They want. Does that bother you at some level, or have you managed to separate it?
I want to believe that I separated it. I do want to believe, and there have been times where it has hit me really badly. But yeah, I'm much better now, and I think it is. In fact, once you put yourself out like that, you should be able to take that. Otherwise, you should not put yourself out there. That is one theory that that one must follow. But I've had bad times, and I think internationally also I've read a couple of reports and all that, and where female are much more and targeted than men, even online by trolls. Like it has been sometimes really bad. Like you know, I remember my husband had to actually close all his accounts and my accounts because it had gone so bad. And then things got better. So yeah, I would say I have learned to deal with it better.
I hear that. I hear. In a sense
Changed.
that they are more experimental. The roles for women have diversified. The kind of content that we used to see on television, that I think in a sense we moved on way ahead of that whole Saas Bahu saga. And the fact that there is a little bit of wokeism as well on OTT shows. What I want to really know what you think about it.
See, I really think that it has opened up a great space for women. In terms of women, if you're talking, OTT has really opened up a lot of space for women. But I also feel that the representation of women is much, much lesser in OTT than it has ever been on TV. And most of the Bollywood earlier in the 70s, 80s, 90s, even like Indian man, the lover boy, when you're talking about Amitabh or Shah Rukh, most of Bollywood has always been male centric. The female narrative has been just pretty much on the fringe, and that is something that is completely opposite in TV. TV is pretty much, the narrative is women centric most of the time, and the OTT is kind of come in between. But again, what I feel is that uh, the the weight is more towards male representation, like Bollywood and OTT, than compared to TV. So it's a good balance, but I think I mean, we must be aware or careful that the narrative is not taken away completely from women-centric characters again.
When you sit down and think about it, you're right. I mean, the kind of
Yeah.
the spotlight on the women was much more on television as it is
Mm.
on OTT platforms, and also the fact that a lot of stars have moved on to OTT platforms. Does that
Yeah.
take away the ability of raw talent to penetrate these platforms now?
Not really, because I think it's pretty much in the nascent stage currently, and like the dot-com boom, it is eventually going to settle. And in fact, we made the first long format daily draw for OTT called Aashiqana, which is kind of the first bridge between OTT and TV. OTT, yeah. So, and that is pretty much women centric. And then followed by that, a lot of other long format shows are happening. That was the first big experiment that we did. And so I think eventually we will find a balance.
But it's also
And OTT,
viewership and TRP, right? So do you find that these women-centric shows are getting the kind of TRP that the other shows get?
I think they're even more popular, like barring one or two shows. Like if we don't talk about like the super powerful ones like a Mirzapur or something, like say that Hotstar show with Sushmita Sen did quite well. It was like it got an Emmy for them, and it was a good thing. I mean, to have Sushmita Sen in a main lead at an age where Bollywood has decided that she can't be the heroine anymore.
Yes, that's
So I
another
think
thing, right? It's opened
yeah,
up. It's opened up beyond that conventional age where women
yes,
were retired onto becoming mothers of the same actors that they
yes,
played opposite,
yes.
right?
Yeah, even I'm forgetting her, Shifali
Shefali Shah, yes.
in that what's the name? Delhi Crime. Again, Shifali would probably not get a role like that in a film or in a TV show. So it has really opened up new parameters where women could be the lead character, take the weight of the show, carry forward the narrative. The narrative is completely based on her. So that's a good trend.
Also, the whole boycott trend. It was not just Bollywood movies; it had also come down to shows, Saif and all of that. Does that scare people from actually coming up with? Because there is also now this whole trend of whether it's Pakistani dramas or Turkish dramas. There's a lot of copies, in a sense, being made. Is that safer as compared to coming up with something original that may just get the cancel culture on your head?
I don't think the two are connected. I think there are a lot of other sensitive issues which you would avoid to not get the cancel culture on you. While some of the remakes could be equally difficult. So if you're making a Turkish remake or a Pakistani remake, it does not mean that you are avoiding controversy. There are some topics that are controversial. So the two things are not connected.
But has this whole thing, the boycott kind of trend, did that scare the industry?
I'm assuming yes. I mean, it would be difficult to not be scared by it because
There are a lot of shows that now come out to be as, for a niche audience, in a sense that, they say that it's a slice of life, but, stuff, it actually targets a very limited audience. How does one sit and decide really what is that slice of life that you're going to portray? What is this life?
See, I think that's pretty much network driven that way because the TGs, because of the data, are very easily, how should I say, sliceable. The data gives you a very, very specific target audience. That if you want to target, say, 16 plus urban school going, college going girl. Okay, so you have decided the target. That's where your advertisement is going to come from. That's where your sponsorship is. So then you make a niche show that probably would not appeal to, say, a 30-year-old man, a 40-year-old woman. It is targeted at the 16-year-old first year college going girl.
What is, between what you make and what you like, what is your balance?
Between what I make and what I pretty much love what I make. It's not even like, it's like I love what I make. So,
Do
uh,
you
I mean, yes, please
do you
tell me.
tend to go more towards the romance?
I don't tend to go more towards the romance. I only do romance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would
So it's pretty much my,
be open to
sorry.
experimenting?
Yeah, why not? But I have found a way to experiment within my own genre. Like we made a fantasy romance, then we made a horror romance. Aashiqana is a thriller romance. Then we did an action romance. So we are pretty much doing sub-genres within romance and covering almost every genre that is there. Like we did Nazar, which was kind of a horror romance. Then we did Jadoo Hai Jhumka, which was kind of a yeah.
So when you are in the middle of a shoot, when you're in the middle of a series that you're shooting, what is your schedule like? And I really want to know, how do you balance that work-life balance? Does that even come into play?
I'm so glad my husband is not in the inner shot to even
No, I know. Haven't I mean
to even
I
to
had
even
none
hear
in the
me.
media,
Yeah.
so I know.
So like he should not even hear me utter these words of work-life balance. There is, I'm pretty. I mean, I'm not sure it is nice for everybody to be like this, but except that if you're like obsessively in love with your work or if you live it, so again, I would say if you are living your work, then kind of that becomes your life love balance.
How long actually does it take for you to finish a series, or it goes?
Yeah, it's never ending. And once you're a producer and a writer, your work hours don't end. Like, you'll not believe, I don't remember the last time I slept with my phone switched off. Like, I don't remember. Last 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, 10 years, I don't remember. I don't think it has happened.
How do you
Because the mass,
how do you juggle the writing, the directing, the producing? That in itself is three different jobs.
yeah, that is pretty much. Yeah. So right now with Aashiqana, it has been extremely hectic because I was writing and it is 6 days a week. So I was literally writing story screenplay by myself, and I was producing it, and I was the series director also. So yeah, last couple of 4 5 months have been terribly hectic. So generally, what I do is even doing one show is really hectic. So I don't I don't get greedy about piling of work in my company on my table. So I kind of literally say no to a lot of work while I'm focusing on building something.
Do you think that Indian dramas have now come of age finally?
I mean, I have a really different point of view on that because people keep saying that Indian dramas are probably not coming of age. I mean, were they ever not coming of age? Because I can quote of some really fantastic shows 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 8 years ago, and 20 years ago. There have always been a set of shows which have been really nice. I mean, I always say that to people, especially on forums when I discuss that we make about 800 films a year. Okay, not all of them are great. We make about, say, 400, 500 serials every year. Not all of them are great, but somehow we are we kind of forget about all the trash that Bollywood is making, and we kind of forget all the good stuff that TV is making, and we just focus on the silly shows that TV is creating. Matlab, I don't think we are even aware of the reach of how many people watch TV in India? 600 million. Let me give you something as small as not something that's small, but it's so big. Like there was this show called Diya Aur Bati, which was done by a friend of mine, Shashi. She's a very good writer. She's a writer, producer herself. And in that, the woman wanted to be a cop. And it was a Saas Bahu drama, but she was approaching it in a way which would reach the heartland. So, Star Plus had done a research on it, and the enrollment of women in becoming a cop went up when that show was on air. You know what that means? That's like I don't have words to even say the kind of influence television can have if you get it right. There's this amazing show called Anupama, which is like on air, which has tackled the toughest of issues, which women, especially middle class women, will not even bring to their mouth. That they gave up their life, they sacrificed everything, and now they want a divorce. And Anupama is like doing it with elan, and people are still watching it. And so there are some really nice shows at some point of time, always.
But I want to know, have you got the pulse of the Indian audience that, we can sit, like, whenever I go and meet my mom, I'm like, oh my God, this is still going on. I mean, it's been going on since like before COVID, like we've been watching it for the last 4 5 years, the same, we're still watching it. So what is it that the Indian audience can watch, 500 episodes, maybe even more, I don't know, and when we watch outside, it's 20 episodes, 30 episodes, karke khatam.
Even we sometimes wonder that, but they're not watching the show. When it comes to TV, they're watching that character. Like for instance, like say Anupama or Emily, one of my shows. They like Anupama. They're not watching a show. They're not watching a TV serial. They are watching Anupama, and they want to see her every day because she supports them. She says what they can't say. She's touching their hearts. She's crying about things that they want to cry. She's laughing about things they want to laugh about. We always, even I used to feel like that what is it? Like, I can't do it. It's been 200 episodes now. Can we just shut it? But then, we get mails and we get messages. And then over the years, I realized that we also don't have any other source of entertainment. Like, suppose you don't have TV. What are you going to do? Where we going to go? What are we going to do? Watching a movie has become extremely expensive. You can't step out at night alone in most of the small cities. You need a male companion to go. Public transport is not that friendly. You're sitting at home. Where do you go? You watch TV.
But as the creative person on the other side, how do you keep motivated to, when the episodes are when the serial is so long, how do you keep motivated with your theme, with your storyline? Isn't it obvious that, at some point you can lose the track or just get jaded in itself and just want to move to a fresher,
Yes.
like normal people?
Yes, definitely. Sometimes you feel like it's done, and just please can we like move on, and then we move on in the show in a different way. See, it is also that people want that. If people would not want it, we will not be able to do it. TV is so brutal. It is such a leveler. The report card comes every day. If you are somebody's brother, sister, it doesn't matter. You come here, you work, you get the rating, you get the job. You don't have the rating, you don't get the job. You can have the number one show last year, but this year, if your show is not rating, you're out. You can have the number one show for the last 8 years, but if you don't have rating this week, you're out. I would say one of my favoriteest character, though, is Zoya from Qubool Hai. It was also because, I put her in a small city Muslim family. So it was very reflective of my personal life. And it was a very simple thing that I grew up fighting my family to allow me to wear jeans. So it was my dream to one day, everything that I thought to put there on screen, and I like, and watch, okay, now 500 million people are going to watch this, that, we want to wear jeans. So Zoya was like my favorite because of that, because it was very, very borrowed heavily, the whole family and her character, her desire to wear jeans and not to be judged by her clothes. And just because she's wearing those clothes did not mean that she does not believe in God, or she's not a nice person. So that was one of my favorite characters because I got a chance to do something that I really wanted to do myself.
Do you ever get downtime? And if you do, what do you do?
Oh yeah, I do. I do get a lot of downtime because in our downtime, like we'll watch TV, watch a lot of shows. I really try hard to read at least like 10 pages a day.
Yeah,
Yeah, so.
that's important. And this whole fight of giving more space to women, whether it is behind the scenes or in front of the camera, what what more can be done? I mean, it's really sad when you say that there were two of you, there are still two of you behind
Yeah,
the camera. It's a dismal number.
yeah.
How do we encourage more women?
Like over the years, Jyotsna, like I used to think that people are doing this, people are stopping them, people are not letting come them. Like say about 15 years ago, I had that state of mind that I would like come and crave कि औरतों को दबाया जा रहा है, उनको मौका नहीं दे रहा है, whatever. But now, strangely, I see, I'm really feeling that sometimes women are choosing easier jobs. I'm beginning to feel that sometimes.
That's a shame, right? Because I mean, for those fighting for
Yeah.
them, then it just takes them back. It takes.
When I see those pages which says that there's nothing wrong in being a homemaker and it's my choice. I mean, I couldn't agree more. Of course, it's your choice, but would but my problem is that will your son have the same choice?
And it's getting even more complicated, in the social media environment, because now everything is so different of what the young generation is actually learning. It's
Yeah,
the
it's.
other extreme.
I think rather than being more complicated, things are more clearer because like you can actually see, you can see the intent. Like you say you are pro-choice, but then you won't let your son have that choice. Then you say you're pro-choice, but there are a lot of things you would not let your daughter do.
The fight
So
continues.
most of yeah.
And
Thank
really,
you so much.
see you with some more super stuff, and hopefully you'll keep inspiring all these women, and another one will pick up the camera maybe someday and come behind it instead of
Yes.
everybody writing in and saying they want to be an actress. Well, how can they join you? So
No, the writers are full of women. Writers, TV is full of women. All producers are most producers are women.
I have friends who are writing.
Yeah, yeah.
But thank you so much for taking
Thank you
the time
so much.
out.